Good morning, fifth grade. I am going to show you an example problem for today's classwork. So our problem here says to evaluate the expression using the standard algorithm for the expression. On Friday, we did addition. If you take a look here, you can see the difference today. We will be using subtraction. So when setting up our problem, it's going to be very similar to addition. We're going to want to make sure that we line up all of our place values. So I'm going to do 8,206. And when I line up 1,367, I will make sure that I line up my thousands place value, my hundreds, my tens, and my ones. I will then set up my equation to subtract. Now again, we will start with the ones just as we do in addition, but if you look here, I cannot take 7 away from 6. If I only have 6 of something, I can't give away 7 or take away 7. So I'm going to have to borrow. Now if I look at the next place value over in the tens where I'd borrow from, it's a 0, so I can't borrow from there. So now if I look over to my hundreds, I see I have 2 hundreds. I can cross out my hundreds and I can borrow from there. So this will become a 1. This will become 10 tens. But I need to borrow all the way back to my first place value. So I cross out my 10 tens. That will become 9 tens. And then I can add 1 10 to 6, which will give me 16. I can now do 16 minus 7, which will give me 9. I can do 9 minus 6, which will give me 3. Now, if I look at my hundreds, I cannot subtract 3 from 1. If I have 1 of something, I cannot take away 3. So I must borrow from my thousands. I will turn that into 7,000s. And I will add a 1, changing my hundreds into 11. I can now do 11 hundreds minus 3 hundreds, which will give me 8. And I can subtract 7 minus 1, which will give me 6. So I know that 8,206 minus 1,367 will give me an answer of 6,839. Now in this example, it's important to remember that when you're borrowing, since I was borrowing for the 6, I had to go over all the way to the hundreds. You need to remember to borrow again. You don't just jump over the tens back to the ones. You need to remember to borrow again.